Today, I feel brave and I feel ready to share an extremely strong spiritual experience that I had that I've told pretty much everyone close to me or anyone who will listen that's in my life. And I've always been afraid to talk about things like this in a public setting generally because I know how it sounds. But then this week I read this book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and I thought, why am I going to hold myself back? The man who wrote this was a doctor, a psychiatrist. He felt compelled enough to share his story. So you know what? It inspired me. I'm going to share mine. I will start with a little bit of backstory. Absolutely anyone who knows me knows that I have extremely vivid dreams. I don't mean vivid in the sense of they're almost like real life. I mean vivid in the sense of they are more real than real life, than the real life that I experience. Every sense is heightened. And I previously made a video talking about how when I was a little kid, I used to be afraid that I'd wake up in the morning and not get to live this life again. The root of that fear was that when I'd go to sleep, I'd live another life, and it was so real that I feared this was the fake one. Like I said, everyone who knows me knows this about me, to the point where they will ask, have you had a dream about me lately? So apart from the dreams, when I was young, I also grew up without any religion at all. My parents were pretty poor. They had real life to focus on. I say real life, you know what I mean. They were very practical people, didn't talk about spirituality, didn't talk about anything really like that. But from the first time I ever heard about astrology, I was into it. And thankfully I had a very supportive family, and they were like, okay, we'll buy you books about this, we can learn about it with you. So all of that to say, I didn't have any knowledge of what people perceived the afterlife could be like or what others believed in. And my interest in the things that I was drawn to were always creepy or weird or taboo, but no one else around me was really into that stuff. So I had no basis of making me like that. Do you know what I mean? And then the last relevant thing that would happen to me when I was young is I would go out and about with my mom, and people would approach me and say to me, you have such a strong aura. You have a beautiful aura. Your energy is radiating off of you. Has anyone ever told you? And I was like, actually, yes, they have. Then as an adult, I had several psychic readings, tarot readings, palm readings, astrology readings, and these were all by separate people. I would never tell this person anything because I always like to hear what they're gonna say. I don't wanna give them any backstory about me. I literally say, tell me what you see. And every single time I get told, you are a very powerful spiritual healer. And then a couple of years ago, I had a past life reading, and I was told that in many of my past lives, I was a spiritual leader, a religious leader, a spiritual healer, a shaman, etc., etc. That is my purpose in life. I'm supposed to guide people. So then I read this book. And one of the things I learned from it is that in our lives, we usually fulfill the same role. And so the story that I really want to tell is that one night in my sleep, I left my physical body completely, and I went into this space that I can only describe as a plasma. It was this light was all around me, but the light had substance, energy. It wasn't like a gel or anything like that, but it was just, I could feel it passing all around me, surrounding every part of my being. And at that point I was a soul, I wasn't a body. I saw numbers, and the only way that I can describe them is that they were almost like hieroglyphics, but not like Egyptian hieroglyphics, not like what we picture in our mind. They were not human. Through these numbers that I had never seen before, they're not any characters that we know, I was getting these downloads, and I was understanding that this was a code. These numbers, these symbols were the knowledge of the universe. I suddenly knew in that moment, I've been here before, and I have always known all of this. I know everything, and I felt this intense sense of peace. It was a different kind of peace than we experience as humans. It was oh, I remember now. I don't have to worry about anything. Every human worry I had ever had was not real. I was free from every negative emotion. And the information that was downloaded to me in this moment was not that negative emotions are bad. In fact, it was that every single emotion is equally important. And the reason why we live human lives is to experience these emotions, whether negative or positive, because we have something to learn from them that our spirit cannot experience in other states. Even if we're in a higher state of being as just our spiritual self and not our physical human body, we have to experience human life in order to experience human emotion. I'm so nervous saying this. I'm getting a dry mouth. I felt the most self-love, just content. I would say happiness, but it wasn't really a happiness an excited happiness or like a human happiness. It was so beyond anything that I'm able to describe with words. And in that moment, I knew I have to go back and keep this state of mind, like keep this sense of peace and keep this inner innate knowing that there's nothing to worry about. And this is just for us to experience, for us to feel love and happiness and joy and sadness and pain and everything in between, because that's what it's for us to experience it as a human. And I've heard the quote before, I'm going to butcher it, but basically like we're not bodies with a soul, we are souls experiencing a human body. That became so clear to me in that moment. The next thing that came to me was an intense sense of fear. A fear, again, like I've never felt before. It was this panic, dread. It was terrifying. I was still in this space, this almost like tunnel of light and symbols. And the download that came to me was, you have to feel this fear right now because you need to get out of here. Not because it's bad for you, not because you're not supposed to know it, but because you're a human right now and you have to go be a human. You have to go be a baby. And it didn't really say the words a baby, but it was trying to convey to me in my human understanding that as a human, we're not supposed to have all of this knowledge of the universe. We're not supposed to know everything. We're not supposed to understand everything. We need to be fully immersed in our human experience, because if we know completely that we are just a soul, we may eventually feel like, well, then what's the point of having this human experience? And if we have things to learn as a human, then we can't just give up on the experience. Otherwise, we're going to have to come back and keep doing it. And so this energy told me directly in my head, you have to be afraid, because that's the only way that your human self will leave. Because this curiosity, the peace that your soul feels, this happiness, you will never want to leave here. But you need to go finish your human experience. And so as your human self, you need to feel that fear. That's what will get you out of here. That's what will make you leave. So I understood, and I came back to my body, and I woke up in still like a sleep paralysis, because it was like this part of me was fighting so hard to not go back into my body, and this other part of me was saying, no, you have to. And I remember I knew that my husband was in bed next to me, and so I started trying to make noises for him to wake me up, because I was actually scared in that moment, like, am I gonna be stuck here? Like, I didn't feel at that point like I was fully in one world or the other. I felt like very much stuck in the middle. So he tried to shake me, sit me up, tried to wake me up, and immediately when I was able to like get up and open my eyes and speak to him, it was still like so difficult. And I'm not a heavy sleeper. I'm actually like the lightest sleeper in the world. Things like this don't really happen to me, even though my dreams are so vivid. They don't suck me in like that. So I woke up and I said to him, this is what happened. I was in this space. I went up into the universe. I saw the highest level of information. It was like a computer code. I was seeing the symbols, the numbers pass by me. And I need to tell you right now, because I don't have the energy to write it down. So I had to tell him and get it out of me, because it was so intense. It was more real than real life. So of course, the next day I wake up, I tell absolutely everyone I know, everyone I can. And I understood that it wouldn't resonate as much with people who hadn't experienced it themselves, but I felt so compelled to share this experience. And after this experience, I went on TikTok and I started trying to look up like the symbols, the numbers, the space that people say they go into, the information of the universe, the knowledge, and I came across near-death experiences. And I now at this point have watched so many people share their near-death experiences. And while I did not die, I still had an experience that was extremely similar to what people describe. And just the other day, I was watching one, and the woman described that she was in a tunnel of light with numbers all around her. She said they were zeros and ones, but she said that it was like a computer code. And when she said that, felt so many feelings all at once. And I sent it to my mom immediately, and I said, I haven't even finished watching this, but she just explained the numbers. Prior to having this experience, I would have never made up in my head, imagined that I would see numbers. I would have imagined, I don't know, like clouds, books, I don't know, like something different. This just wasn't something that I would have imagined if I were making it up myself. So I told her, I think I want to make videos talking about my experiences. This is only one of them, of course. And then, like I said, I read this book. And one of the lessons that he says he learns from the spirit guides or the masters is that when you have this knowledge, you're supposed to share it. That is one of your purposes. You're supposed to learn and you're supposed to teach others. I have to share this with you. Ask me any questions at all, please. I'm so excited.